Coach, I'd heard enough players and coaches kind of say the sentiment last week that we're 0-2, we're not a good team. And why was that an important message? I mean, obviously it worked, but why was that an important message last week to get across before the Portland State game?
Well, I don't think the message was necessarily we're not a good team, we're not playing like a good team, I think was really the message. And the message was that we thought the bye week gave us an opportunity to correct some things. And some of the things I talked about after the South Dakota State game were gap integrity on defense, making sure that we played the gaps a little bit sounder, that we tackled better on defense. And those were points of emphasis that we used during the bye week for defense. And on the offensive side of the ball, it was finishing. I thought that we had moved the ball fairly well in the first two games, with the exception of the third quarter against New Mexico State. But we weren't ending up in the end zone. Either we were trying to kick a field goal, or we were going forward on fourth down, and we weren't doing well on fourth down. That's probably another point of emphasis, is we played so much better on third down and fourth down against Portland State than we did in the previous two games. But it was really finishing in the end zone. When you look at it, 6 touchdowns, I think 2 or 3 drives of over 80 yards. I think some of the points of emphasis hit home. Now, are they going to continue to? That's the magic question. If we can continue to play with, I think the intensity that we played with and the desire to play the game, the emotional side of things that we played with on Saturday night and carry those forward, we can be a good team. One game doesn't make you a good team. That was one good game. But to be a good team, you got to play week in and week out. And I think that's the point of emphasis this week.
Big disparity between what happened the first couple of weeks and then this past weekend. In reality, by the end of the season, or however you want to term it, I mean, how good are you guys?
Well, I think that the school's still out on it. I don't think there's any question. I'm not overly confident that we're going to win the Big Sky Conference Championship after beating Portland State, but I do know that Portland State offensively causes a lot of people problems. I mean, last year they averaged in the high 5s and close to 40 points a game. And they were been tough for us to handle the last 2 years. And for whatever reason this year, I thought for 3.5 quarters, that's probably as good as we could play. And if you watched them play against Oregon State, you would have been pretty impressed with who we were playing. You watch them play against Washington State, well, Washington State throws it 70 times a game, and that's not us anyway. They caused them some problems. But even that game, it was 21-0. Washington State at halftime, just like our game. And 6 minutes into the third quarter, it was 21-14. And in our game, we came out and I thought established the third quarter as our quarter and really started to put the game away and get ahead 35-0, which truly ended the game. So I thought there was a lot of good moments in the game, but most importantly, I thought that the effort, the intensity, and the emotion carried over, and we played fairly solidly for probably close to 48 or 49 minutes at least.
Coach, you said it previously, it's a toss-up, Daniel Graves, Chris Brown, either or. Chris obviously had a great game. Is he kind of separating himself from the pack a little bit?
I think that Chris would probably say the same thing. We have a tremendous amount of respect and a tremendous amount of confidence in both guys. And one of the things that was great to do, I told Dano when we put Dano in the game the other night, I said, you need to play like the score is 0-0. And I thought he did. I'm not sure that everybody around him did, but I thought he did. And that was good experience for him to get back into the thick of actually playing in a game situation and getting himself ready to play. And, I still feel the same way that we have 2 great quarterbacks, but right now with the way Chris has been playing and the plays that he's been making, he deserves to continue to play, and I'm sure Chris would be the first guy to agree to that one too. But I think he also has a tremendous amount of respect for Dano Graves and what Dano does every single day at practice with his work ethic, and I think the two of them have a very respectful relationship that's grown quite a bit, and as teammates and friends, I think, in the last year as well.